Okay, we are recording. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is an interview with my very, I would say friend now. That's the lovely thing about IABC. I reach out to people and I get a chance to have these virtual conversations and we become friends. So I am speaking to Sunita, by the way, today. Sunita is based in India. She is the Senior Director, Corporate Affairs and CSR for Walmart Global Tech India. And now she's based in India for Walmart, and it might not, this part of Walmart might not be known, but it's a very digital oriented role. Sunita is an experienced professional communicator. She's been over 20 years in the field. She started working in PR agencies before moving on to corporate and in-house roles. And that's how her own skill set transitioned from external to internal and now to digital. Sunita, thank you so much for joining me today on this call and to just get into your journey in corporate communications. What got you started? Why join a PR agency? Why even start in professional communication?
Yeah, thank you, Kristy. Thank you so much for having me here. My journey with communication started by accident. I started working just after my graduation and I did a lot of odd jobs and I was not very happy where I wanted to go. So I actually went back to studies. So 4 years after my graduation, when I did my diploma in public relations, that's when I was introduced to fabulous professors and lecturers. And, they had a lot of part to play in where I've landed today. And some of my professors actually pushed me to join a PR agency. And up until then, I had no idea of, what problems a PR agency solves. So it was very nice to kind of, get into the grind of, in the initial stages, you're very, very raw. So you kind of get pushed into the water and you have to learn to swim. And that's what happened in my case. So went into the PR agencies for a few years and then joined the corporate side of the world. So from like really knowing the journalists, tracking what they're doing to like really coming up with like a business strategy and built a lot of skill sets after that. Be it like really handling crisis or be it managing teams or being managing leaders in an organization. So I feel like the last 20 years has been an absolute delight of learning new things, meeting new people, working for wonderful organizations like Walmart, where, we are like really pushed to do more and more in terms of making ourselves uncomfortable to be relevant as leaders for today.
I love that, making yourself uncomfortable to be relevant. And that brings to mind something that you mentioned about your own journey, Sunita. Now, when we were talking earlier, I know one of the things that you've been experiencing and actually been doing in your own life, in your career, is helping to coach business leaders, right? And this has been going on for a few years now. And it takes a while before a new, fresh corporate comms practitioner is going to get to that point. What got you there? What tips would you have for a new graduate who's looking to finally come up to that point of being strategic and professional communication and to the point where you're a coach and a business advisor?
Yeah, and that's very interesting, right? What will it take for like a youngster to be successful today? I mean, we took a long time to even like figure out, where the organizations are going, but the entire digital journey was very new to us. But when you look at the youngsters today, I just feel like they have a lot more competency and skill set to know newer things. They are more smarter than us. So when I embarked on the journey of coaching, my perception of the coaching world was very different to where I actually landed, and it actually landed in a good way. So I did a course online for close to 8 months, where I built my competency in terms of being an executive coach and being a life coach. And there are a lot of behaviors that you learn over a period of time. Is sometimes it's about clean language, sometimes it's about like how do you have a conversation with leaders, and how do you kind of take out the hat of you speaking to people from a designation standpoint. How do you kind of really have those wonderful conversations which enable people to move forward. All of us know a solution to the problem, but what the coaching skills do is they enable you to empower your team, because you go with a lot of trust that everybody knows their work. But how do we come together and make it a beautiful environment for all of us to feel happy and get stuff done. So coaching basically answers a lot of what. So it's about like, what's the goal? What are we trying to solve? And, how do we kind of move forward on that? So most often when my team comes today, I really hesitate to give them a solution because I know that every problem has a solution. So you just have to coach them and lead them in a way where they figure out their own solution for a problem. And I've realized over a period of time is that the moment you get into a tell mode, that's when you stop the options of goodness. So the moment you ask more questions, you have more and more answers, which actually results in better options and better solutions for all of us to reach our goal, be it professional or personal.
I think that is clearly an indication as well of experience and just how senior you are in your role. Because to come to that point where you are, first off, it takes dedication. It takes time to coach someone. It takes a lot of effort because you can't just give them the right answer. You have to actually wait and hope and nurture that learning mindset in these in the interns that you have, even in the staff that you have that you're working along with. And that actually brings me to the SCMP, because you recently got the Strategic Communication Management Professional certification. In fact, you're one of the few professional communicators based in India who have achieved this higher level certification that's provided by the Global Communication Certification Council. Why did you take the SCMP? What were you looking to do? Was it more for yourself? Do you think it would help in your career, or was there some other driving? I mean, just the fact that you were in an 8-month course is indicative of how driven you are in terms of professional development and learning. But I would like to know what got you motivated about this? What got you started?
Kristy, it's actually a combination of everything, right? Is really trying to understand what's there outside. And if you don't do that kind of a reading or studying, we are not relevant. And the world is moving so fast in terms of, how do you kind of solve a business problem from like different industry perspective. And when I applied, I really didn't expect the journey to be this fulfilling. What happened in the journey was, I had two of my other peers from India. We came together, and of course we met you, and there was a lot of anxiety, and there was like a lot of stress. But what happened was the group supported each other brilliantly. So we would actually make notes and like really use WhatsApp a lot. And I would read up on something. So I would tell Piyali, or Sukanya would read up on something, and we would tell the group. We formed a really nice friendship. And at some point in time, like, I still remember what you told me, Kristy, is, go get it, like, you got this, you got this, right?
You've got this, yeah.
It was really nice to, hear all of these really nice motivating words. But yes, there was a lot of nervousness. But as I took the exam, Kristy, I realized that, I come from a tech background, and everything about communication is not tech. And when you are a senior leader, it's very important to understand what's happening in the other industry. What does reputation mean in different industries? What does crisis communication mean in different industry? And that was very awakening for me when I was like reading up on different situations where there could be crisis in like a tech manufacturing organization, or there could be crisis in a law firm, or it could be a crisis in a university or a school. And those case studies and listening to the podcast, from Catalyst, and reading up on so many books, some of the principles that, you had shared, Barcelona principles. Reading up was fascinating because I was reading up after many years, I would say. And I realized that, how much ever you write content, it's also very important to read and learn. Maybe you don't experience, but at least you get a good knowledge of a situation and, a behavior in that particular situation, and how that, drives the outcome. And that's very important for all communication people to know.
No, I fully agree. And I found the process also, I unexpectedly found it to be very, you look at certification, you think it's going to validate what you already know. You don't realize that just forcing yourself to read because you now have a deadline that you have to meet gets you reading about all sorts of things that you wouldn't usually do because it's not part of your daily work. It's not your industry, for example, just like how you're saying, what does crisis management look like in a legal industry, for example. And yes, I learned a lot in just my preparation process, but that was an eye opener for me because now I feel, okay, Kristy, you got to keep that up. You've got to take time regularly and just read on the different things that are happening all over the place and in different industries. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why I think the Google case studies from IABC and things are going to be very helpful for them. Just keeping up to date from one source can be easier sometimes than researching. But Sunita, I also want to know, because you have achieved certification. Congratulations, by the way, massive congratulations on getting that SCMP. But also congratulations on having been named Communicator of the Year last year. And this was from the Women's Achievers Summit and Awards. Can you tell me a bit about the award? Because when I saw it, I was like, oh, wow, congrats, it must be so fulfilling and so nice to be recognized within your country and within the industry and within the just, everywhere that is recognizing that award. So can you tell us a bit about it?
Thank you, Kristy, for that. And I'm just going to step back a little bit to 2019. So we had like this big goal for Walmart Global Tech to increase the awareness for diversity. And we actually ran a campaign that year called Spark of Inclusion. And it was a year-long campaign where we did like a gamut of initiatives, plans, strategy to make sure that people understand what does diversity mean. Very traditionally, even today, diversity still goes back to hiring more women, nurturing more women. And if you look at how the world is going, the world is going a lot more faster in terms of what does diversity mean in terms of, our thoughts, different age groups, be it like LGBT community or even being like, differently abled. So, how do we as leaders in an organization really nurture and how do we kind of really raise awareness for what does diversity mean? And, coming from like a very traditional Indian ecosystem, we still have a long way to go in terms of the different roles that we have for each genders. And that campaign was very fulfilling for me and my team because we had to like really work. And the best thing about, working for Walmart sometimes is the freedom and the empowerment that you get for the ideas. So we were able to really drive those messaging really strong. And when we did the brand audit that year, diversity and inclusion actually came up as the number one, recollection for our associates. So as part of the award, I actually filled in a lot of details about the campaign that we had done, and I think the jury liked the campaign. So I guess that is very fulfilling, but I still feel like there's a lot more to be done for all genders, Kristy, having the Women Achiever tag is fine, but if there was a male member doing the same kind of a work, it would be nice to like just have the jury represent us for the work that we are doing and really not about the gender. And I'm saying that because I have two daughters, and I'm just hoping that the world gets a lot more better, a lot more fairer, for them to kind of study, work, or like really get into organizations which support diversity.
No, that was so nice to hear, and I love the name, by the way, Spark of Inclusion. It's beautiful. But Sunita, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, right? Because you've come from internal, you went in external, and then you joined Walmart. And it's not Walmart in the traditional sense of the brand that we all know. It's Global Tech India. What does that mean in corporate communication? How does those two worlds meet? How do they meet? I'm guessing you're the bridge. So tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, Walmart, Fortune 1, close to $559 billion organization. Very fascinating work that we do from India. It's the tech talent that works for solving our customer problems so that we can help our customers save money and live better. So close to 97% of our engineers, product managers, data science professionals are like really solving a customer problem. Even more so during the COVID times, right, where customers are relying a lot on shopping online. So how do we kind of solve a problem for them sitting out of India? And we solve the problem for Walmart globally through our tech talent, which is based here in India. And it's a fascinating journey for us as communicators. So I joined Walmart where we were just close to 900 associates at that time, 5 years ago. I would literally know everybody's name. To today, we've really grown big as an organization, and the kind of value that we add back for Walmart is humongous. So the role basically is about making sure that we increase the employer value proposition so that we are able to attract and retain talent. And the biggest challenge that we have is people know Walmart, but they really don't know what tech does for Walmart. And that's the narrative, and that's the way how we kind of talk to our audience here through internal, external, be it PR, be it digital, or even be CSR. How do we kind of really help the employer value proposition for Walmart in India?
I love that. It's just, it sounds first off like the field is completely so varied that I imagine that even when you came into this, you had a lot of learning that you had to do just to get used to this new industry coming from other corporate roles, right? And how did you do it? What would you say to somebody who is switching industries, for example? Because during the pandemic and now with the different economic status in different countries, there's a lot of people who will be either transitioning to different jobs, different roles. Do you have any tips or suggestions or recommendations really on what to do to adapt to those new roles and industries or fields?
Yeah, so Kristy, I can just share my experience because that's exactly what happened to me at Walmart. So when they hired me 5 years ago, they hired me only for PR and digital. And, I added on more skills to my role. At one point in time, I used to also do events. But now I've kind of moved into doing CSR full time and also internal communication. So when I started CSR with Walmart, I did know a little bit, very bookish knowledge of what CSR is, but I really didn't know what it really entails in terms of the regulation, in terms of understanding the compliance. And I started with saying, hey, I don't know, but I have the responsibility to lead this. So how do I get people who've been working on this component for like the last few years? And how do I build my relationship with them? And how do I understand what will it take for me to get there? Like, I was not doubting my skills and competency, but I did not have the knowledge of the compliance bit. And compliance can sometimes be very strict because in India, any profitable entity needs to give away 2% of the profitability back to the communities that they support. So what was interesting was like there was money spent and impact to understand. So how do we kind of work on, looking at the overall spend and looking at the want and the need when we are giving back to the community. So every NGO that we pitch, and I realized over a period of time is that you need to take people along with you in the journey, which is even your external partners. So if I'm working with an NGO, is like really helping them to, ask for funds. Sometimes NGOs are very shy. They just don't know how to ask. So a lot of time actually went into like spending time visiting them. And thankfully this was pre-COVID, to see what they really, really need. And like coaching them and guiding them, saying that, hey, you don't have a roof, ask for a roof. You don't have solar power. We're looking at sustainability. How about if we help you with solar power? Can we look at maybe, helping you guys with 24 hours water supply? And all the NGOs, at least the ones that we work with, have kids who they shelter. So, how do we kind of help them with electricity? How do we kind of, spend time with them to kind of coach them to get to where we are today? There is no dearth of money being spent, Christy, here, but there is a lot of dearth of time being given to an NGO to like really nurture. So I kind of took it very basic and kind of went back and understood the problem, and then went back and like really spoke to internal folks. And people always have a good intent, and when you go with the whole trust factor, you get a lot of help, but you just have to ask for it. And that was just the NGO part, even with digital. So when I started in the whole digital journey, the good thing was that I was able to hire an agency, and it was like building a relationship with the agency. So there was one bit of work wherein it was my responsibility to onboard them on Walmart. What works, what doesn't work, and the different leaders that we are working with, different problems that we are solving, and what's the story that we need to tell. And then the agency came with their own competency of like really understanding the data, how do we work with different platforms, and
Right.
merge them together and really look at the agency as your extended team, and like really treat them that they know it all and I know everything about Walmart. So it was like this beautiful combination which came together, and I've worked with the same agency for the last 4 years, and we still continue to learn. I wouldn't say that we mastered it all. So for any youngster out there, I would just say that they are smart, they know how to solve a problem. It's just that they need to figure out like what is the long-term strategy that they want to achieve, be it comms or be it any profession that they choose, and how do you kind of work towards attention can be a little challenging with youngsters. So if they don't give up and say that, hey, I want to learn more, I feel it's a very fulfilling journey.
No, I think that's the perfect point to wrap it up on, actually. The first was really about pushing yourself and making yourself uncomfortable to remain relevant, but also to invest, to be persevering and put in the time, really, even when contributing. That's actually something that reminds me, I might as well mention it here, a little plug. IABC's World Conference on a yearly basis does something called the Gift of Communication. And that's where communicators are paired with different NGOs and nonprofits who come together at the World Conference to benefit from the skill sets of professional communicators. They will present some of the issues that they're having, and they get some coaching from the communicators, and they get some advice and consultancy. And it sounds like that's what you do essentially with your different NGOs, Sunita. And I think that's really just what happens when you finally get to that point where you realize that you want to make a difference. And it's probably also a reason why the SCMP, one of the requirements is really that mentee letter, right? Because it shows that you've been mentoring somebody or you've done pro bono work for charitable organizations. But this has been a lovely conversation, and I'm going to tell everyone, please connect with Sunita Venugopal on her LinkedIn. The link is below in the YouTube section or in the social media section. Reach out to her if you have any questions at all about her work at Walmart or regarding the Spark of Inclusion campaign, maybe even. And if you have any questions about the GCCC certification, please reach out to IABC Asia Pacific region. We'll be happy to help you. If you don't see an exam being hosted in your city, reach out and we'll be able to help organize one for you. But this has been enlightening. I always love these conversations I get with different people around the region. Sunita, thank you so much for your time.
You're most welcome, Kristy.
All right, I'll sign off here. Any parting words, Sunita, by the way, to the audience?
No, I'm happy to help, anyone on the journey with, for SCMP, CMP. I'm really, really happy to help them out.
All right, you heard it. I did not force it this time. This was natural. It came from Sunita, but also reach out to myself as well. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to help. But thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you on the next video. Take care, everyone.